Hey guys, welcome back to Fish the Moment. Today we're going to go over how to use the Livescope to help us catch them pressured, post-spawn, offshore bass.
We got him. We got him. Stay down. Oh, that's a good fish. That is a good fish. There we go, look at that girl right there. Big old thick fish, it's been eaten up. We had her hooked good. I'm right here fishing another ledge, y'all.
I've had the Livescope for 2 years now, and I'd like to share with y'all today how I use it this time of year in end of May to early June. Let's get into it.
When you're fishing a lake that's pressure like I was today, you have to be a little different just to get these fish to bite. And so that's how I was using the Livescope today, setting that thing into 120 foot forward range just so I could see my targets. Now, as I'm using this, I'm not even like fishing single fish. I am fishing spots particular.
So let's get into how I use the Livescope at this spot. I'm right now in the middle of the creek channel, which is in about 30 to 35 feet. I am right now fishing a ledge, which is right directly in front of the boat there. I'm right now about 120 feet away from the ledge. Now, I'm not up there looking at the ledge with my Livescope trying to see individual fish or even groups of fish. I'm just using it to see the ledge, to make an efficient cast, and just to try the best I can to not spook any of these fish. So as you see the Livescope, there's the ledge clearly defined. It's hard to even see any fish at this point, even though I do know some are up there. And the forward range setting, as you see, is 120 feet. And I'm just doing this to try to be as quiet as I can, but I'm being efficient by looking at my target and making accurate cast.
Good fish. Oh yeah, good old worm fish. Come on now. There we go. Nice worm fish right there. Oh. Good old fish right there, guys.
So let me give you an example on another lake. We're here at Bob's Sandlin down in East Texas. As you see right here, we have a long flat point that is right next to a creek channel. Instead of going up near the point using my electronics such as my side imaging and down imaging, I would instead stop way out in front of this point. I'd put my Livescope in the water and use it to target the end of this point. I would throw near this point and then eventually work my way up. I do this because I would try the best I can to not spook these fish. I'm just using my Livescope to be sneaky as possible since these fish are coming right out of the spawn. And this lake here, as I know it, like my lakes locally, a lot of people like to get out in the water March, April, May. So these fish have been very pressured. They've seen a lot of baits. They've heard a lot of the pings and felt the electronics and just all the matters that go into fishing this time of year. So instead of me trying to just do the same thing that everybody else is doing, I would be as sneaky as possible to try to catch these highly pressured fish.
Got him. Good fish again. The offshore jig. How I was fishing that so slow. Stay hooked up. The Fish the Moment offshore jig, the Johnny Schultz special, right there. Guys, I had to switch it up. I caught those two on the worm, and that kind of died off, and then I switched up to the jig. Like I said, I'm fishing really slow right now. Like I was going to talk about, these fish here have been pressured. That's a good fish. Not a bad little morning, like I said. Just we're right now though using our Livescope to make these very long casts. I'm just using the Livescope to look at the spots. Like I said, I'm not trying to look for individual fish. I'm looking at the spot, keeping my target, just keeping the Livescope pointed where I know my target is to make a good cast so I can stay in that strike zone for a while.
How you can practice this is by maybe going to your own body of water or a lake nearby, the one that you're familiar with, find you a brush pile, set your settings to 100 to 120 feet, go out there and look at it and just get a feel for how it looks. It's not gonna be as a clear picture as it is 60 to 50 feet. So set that dude up to 120, and some lakes you'll be able to do 150 feet depending on your settings and how you get your Garmin set up or your Lowrance Live. So throw that dude out there and get you some practice cast in on a spot that you know to where you can have your forward range to that 120 to 150 foot range. Today I was just doing 100 to 120. The water I was fishing is not as clear as some of the lakes that you might need the 150 feet. But that's how you can just go to practice, is to go find your own brush pile that you're familiar with, set your dude up to 120 to 150 feet, make your cast to where you can get familiar with this setting and familiar with trying to catch fish this way. And the reason we are doing this, remember, is so we're not trying to spook the fish. We're not trying to get up there close on the fish. Some of the guys I know that are really, really good at this, I mean, they know the rock spots they're fishing and the hard spots, and they have that thing set up to 150 feet to where they can make those long casts, and they know where they're casting at, and they might not be fishing for them individual fish, but they are fishing a spot where they know the fish are at, and they're not trying to scare the fish, spook the fish, as I also will say.
The rod I'm using today for my jig and my worm is this Denali Covert out of the Covert series. It is the 7.6 medium heavy worm and jig rod. Even with these fish today, as finicky as they're biting, and you know, just as how these bass are acting today, I can still feel them bites. Even in this wind, the action on the rod tip, man, I've been impressed with it. Even like I said, a day like today, and I'm going through these rocks right now off this ledge, I can clearly tell a distinction between the rock and the bites, how it's been acting today.
With this in mind, just understand, a lot of people have the electronics now, and a lot of people are getting good at the electronics. You got to find another way to be able to catch the fish and to not scare the fish or spook the fish, as I say, and this is one way that you can do that. We can use the electronics to help us catch these fish offshore, but they're also adapting as well, so we as fishermen have to adapt with them.
Let me also clear up on having this forward range to the 120 to 150 feet. When we have it set up that far, we are not expecting to make casts at 150 feet. We are just looking at our targets that could be anywhere from 80 to 120 feet. And if you're still over here wondering, well, I cannot make a cast 80 feet far or even 100 feet far, well, then you might need to look at your whole equipment setup. Your rod, your line, your reel are very important pieces to making very efficient casts and casts this long on these offshore spots. I know Johnny just recently made a video for y'all with Denali on using the right rods for the types of fishing and for the casting, and I would go recommend to watch that video. I know a lot of people, and even people I've taken fishing, they are at times ask me, hey, how can you cast that much further than me? And it just goes down to having the right setup for these offshore spots. Now, you don't got to spend a lot of money on it. You just have to have your 4 to 5 rods and your 4 to 5 reels, and you can use one rod or reel setup for multiple types of fishing.
Also, what else I'm doing here, y'all, just from I've learned over the years and from just fishing with people that's been fishing for a long time, y'all, is when you're fishing this wind offshore and you're throwing a worm, a jig, you know, keep your rod tip low to the water. Keep it out of the wind, because when you're up here hopping it, I mean, you know, there's wind cutting slack in it. You can keep your rod down here low to the water column. You're keeping your line tight to the lure. I'm throwing the worm here, and I can feel all them rocks down there. You can feel your brush pile if you're fishing brush. You can then feel bites, okay? It just helps out. Now, I know there's a time you're gonna have your rod up and feel, and want to do that with the worm and hop it around, but just right now, with how this wind's blowing, I mean, you see I'm in the wind. Keep that rod tip down so you can just help you feel more bites.
Thank you for checking in on Fish the Moment. Click like and subscribe below for more video content. We appreciate you. Have a great day and go catch more fish.